Oh, welcome to the Sharp Way. It's a bit past 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and it's Friday. And I've decided that I haven't done enough of these in a long time. I know I have been absent for many of you for many issues, and I apologize for that. I've been so busy trying to get other things done, but I thought, let me do an AMA and ask me anything, in case you didn't know what that meant, but I think most of you do. But the part that I wanted to start with was something that was bugging me, right? And usually when I get a bee in my bonnet, is that a saying still? It is now. I want to start with that, the thing that bugs me, the thing that got me thinking about this. And what got me started on this, believe it or not, was Andrew Cuomo. Yes, the former governor of New York. The former governor of New York was on Bill Maher last weekend, and I talked about that. And some people were upset at me. They were like, how can you say anything about him? He's a bad guy. He killed all these people, blah, blah, blah. And I agree with all of it. Because I told some people when I was speaking to him, I said, he was on Bill Maher and he was very good. He was. And people got mad at me. How can you say that? Because he was. The guy who got accused of grabbing people's butts and had to step down theoretically because of it, showed up and he said, showed up with a woman who wrote a book about how innocent he was. And I said, that's amazing. People got mad at me for that. My friends were like, wow, how can you say that? He's a terrible guy. Yes, it doesn't mean he's not talented, right? Because he's a bad guy, which he is, it doesn't mean he's wrong or bad or not talented. And the reason why I bring this up and why that has put a bee in my bonnet, without it to Roy Fenicho, he says, of course, I'll be on it, I guess. Yes. Yes, I'm on it. But there are so many bad things about this. One of them is if I simply make the bad guy the one-word story, right? He's evil, he's mean, he's this. I will then by default underestimate him or her. I will underestimate the person. So now I'm at a disadvantage. My emotion and trying to cut him out and go, he's terrible, he's bad, he's this, emotionally feels good. I feel righteous because I have insulted the person. But the problem is, now I underestimate him. Joe goes off and goes, Hitler was a terrible guy, great at brainwashing though. Well, I mean, I guess we'll go there. Of course you went to Hitler. We always go to Godwin's law, don't we? Just because he's Hitler doesn't mean he didn't say some things that were true, right? One of the things that he talked about, which is why people did support him, was he talked about how the German government in World War I screwed over the German troops. That is true. That's an accurate statement. But that doesn't mean you got to support him, right? It doesn't mean doesn't make him a good guy because he happened to say one thing that was right? You can say, and the savviest liars, and this is an issue that we should all get in the nuance. The savviest liars, it's always based on a kernel of truth, right? This one bad thing happened, right? So now I expose everything. And now it's like, again, the Hitler thing. Did the German government after World War I screw over their soldiers? Yes, accurate statement. So now Nazis. No. You can't go so now Nazis, right? But you can still say, oh, well, that one thing he said is true. The problem is if you do the opposite, go, you can't talk to him. He's a Nazi. So what he says is wrong. People go, wait a minute. But that one thing he said is right. And you're not acknowledging that the one thing he said is correct. So now I don't trust you either. Maybe that guy is right. So you do want to acknowledge what is true so that you can believe when you say what is not true. This is a critical piece. Many things, bad, horrible things, are based on some kernel of truth so deep down someplace that people dismissed. But that thing was true. The one thing was true. And now all of a sudden people start saying, well, now I don't trust you, the good guy. Maybe the bad guy's right, because that one thing he says obviously true, and you won't even acknowledge that. And this is why you will hear me constantly say things like, I give credit where credit is due. I don't dismiss the skill set or the reality of any of these things. Character assassination, while is often very effective in going back and forth in debates and such, doesn't work. If character assassination worked, Donald Trump would have never been president, right? If character assassination actually worked, Donald Trump's never was president, but he was. The character assassination doesn't work. It's not because, again, whether you like Trump or not, there are parts of what he said that were absolutely based on truth. And people just dismissed him. They said, wait, man, I don't trust you now. So why did I bring up Jeffrey Dahmer? Because I didn't want to go Hitler, Joe. I didn't want to go there. So I went Jeffrey Dahmer instead, right? For those of you who don't know who Jeffrey Dahmer is, Jeffrey Dahmer, one of, if not, I mean, top 10 evilest person on the planet. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. This guy literally tricked people, trapped them, drugged them, raped them, killed them, ate them. That actually happened multiple times. Them, not even him or her, them, multiple times. Everything found in a fridge, he admitted it. So that guy, I mean, clearly a horrible human being, clearly in every way you could imagine. In every way you could imagine, horrible human being. If he says 2 + 2 is 4, is it not? And while that's kind of a joke, it's not. He can still be right that 2 + 2 is 4. That can still be true, even though Jeffrey Dahmer is a horrible human being. Sadly, if he said something that was true, people who don't like it will say this thing can't be true. Why not? Because Jeffrey Dahmer is horrible. Well, he is horrible, was horrible. He's dead now. Was horrible. He was horrible. It doesn't make what he said wrong. Now, this goes back to a piece when I was in training. I still do a bunch of training, not as much as I used to, but a whole lot of training I used to do. And when I do training, one of the quotes I made when I was talking about people presenting information is I would say you want to produce data, but you also want to produce a story based upon the data when you're trying to convince somebody of anything, right? Here's my data, but here's also my story that shows, that validates my data. And I'll talk about that often. And one of the quotes I put was a quote from Stalin. And the quote was, if I remember, I think it's correct, but it might be paraphrased. You'll get the quote either way. It is, one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. Horrible. But people always remember that quote. And one guy got mad at me. He goes, that's not a good, you're quoting Stalin. It's not good to quote. I said, you remember the quote, didn't you? He went, well, yeah. I said, everybody does. He goes, yeah, but you can't be quoting Stalin. I said, why? He goes, you're terrible. He goes, this old saying. I said, what? He said, when someone quotes Hitler, that says more about him than it says about Hitler. And I was like, really? Is that always true? I said, if someone's always quoting Hitler, yeah, that's a problem, right? You should not always be quoting something like that. But if once in a while and you're talking about the situation, you happen to use a quote that you happen to remember that made sense to you, that doesn't say anything bad about you. If you're always doing it, okay, he's got a point, right? But the point again becomes character assassination is the wrong answer. And we do it all the time. We say, well, you can't talk to that guy. He's a conservative. Don't talk to that guy. He's a progressive. And that means by default, every conservative or every progressive is wrong. I know some of you are saying yes, but no, that's not true. Progressives and conservatives can both be right. Even if you disagree with them politically, they can still say things that are true. They can still want to make things correct either way. You guys see my show I do Thursdays now at noon, right? It's literally a very conservative guy, Michael Voss, and a very conservative woman, Charlotte Burnett, both on both sides. Clearly they are that, and I'm not insulting them. They would agree to it. They admit it. Of course, it's what they want, of course. And they very often disagree. Almost always. If you watch the show, you see they fight all the time. It doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make them wrong. Now, sometimes I think they're wrong. Now, clearly, if I think they're wrong, then they're wrong, obviously. But other than that, it doesn't make them wrong. character assassination, when you see it, when you see character assassination, you should start asking yourself, is the person doing the assassinating afraid? Do they not have a valid argument? Are they doing the one-word story? I can't talk to Joe. He's a libertarian. Why would you listen to him? Right? If you're doing that, maybe I don't know Joe. Maybe Joe's right and I don't want to admit that. Maybe I don't have an argument, so I'll just insult him and call him the one-word name, right? Just one word name, and then you can't listen to him anymore. Is that the issue? That's the thing you need to think about. When you see character assassination, does the person who's using it, is it because they're trying to hide something? And often it is. Second piece, someone can be right and still be a bad person. Someone can be correct, and you can use the correct person, the correct data, to not achieve that person's desired outcome. I know I feel like I'm being a bit preachy, but that part bothered me tremendously. I see it all the time, and we do it constantly. Insults and character assassination can be effective in an argument and debate. It can be. You can win the debate because I insulted somebody. But you have to think, is it really what they're trying to, what are they really trying to get at? What are they really thinking about? That's what I wanted to bring up. So let me grab a couple of comments if I could. Shelly says, good evening, can't stay long but help. Thank you, Shelly. For those of you who watch this, you know that I get shadow banned horribly. And this is going to be, of course, demonetized, shadow banned as it always is. The way I get around that when I can, which is rare, it's when you guys like, comment, and share. So please do so. Like this if you can. It does matter. Please like. That button does matter tremendously. Wherever you're watching, go ahead. Please do it. If you're watching on Twitter, please retweet this so that people can re-see it. It does matter tremendously. Please do that. Every little bit counts. So I appreciate it. Thank you even for staying for a short period of time, Shelly. I appreciate that. Yes. Let's see here. Grab a couple more. Joe says 2 + 2 is 5 because the party says so. Absolutely. So user has been banned for naughty words, says, I wish Dahmer was in Congress. He could have them all for dinner. We'd have a better Congress. Yes. But again, FBI agent, we are joking. This is a joke. Do not send the cops. Joking. Absolutely. So he goes on to say, thank you for crossing the day. I did again last week. I was another 7 stops up in upstate New York, a bunch. I'm having a couple downstate here coming up here also. I am all over the place. Yes, I don't stop crossing the state because I care. I do. It sounds silly, but instead of me just talking the talk, I am also walking the walk. So yes, 100%. Roy says, Hamas too, same playbook. Agreed. There's a lot of things about Hamas that they will say something that is based on truth. Absolutely. Right. You can find, okay, here's some truth. Got it. Okay. And then expand to, let's destroy all of Israel. Right. That's the part we don't want to go to. But if there are grains of truth in their point, we want to acknowledge that, right? Of course, you're exactly right. Same thing, right? We could, I don't know much about Hamas before. I don't know the details of it, but I do know that these are always based on some kernel of something that's true, then expanded to kill all of Israel, right? And I'm joking when I say that, but you know what I'm saying? They're not joking when I say that, right? I'm just saying what they're saying. And that's where they go to. But if we just dismiss them and say, well, everything they're saying is lies, because they're the T word that we use all the time. They're the T word, so we can't talk to them. We can't listen to them. Yeah, but there's people in that area who are believing in them, who are saying, but wait a minute, that one thing they said, and it's always the same thing. You see all the time, Roy. Yeah, but what about this thing? And that's the true thing, right? There's one thing that's true. And then people go, well, but they're terrorists, so don't talk to them. Wait, but this one thing's true. You have to acknowledge the kernel of truth. Talk about that, and let's not go to the end. I really believe that's the way that we can have a conversation, if at all. Otherwise, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Joe, broken clocks are correct twice a day. But the question becomes, is the person or the group, in this case that Roy talks about, are they right because chance? Or again, are they taking a kernel of truth and then using it to go to the next level? If so, you want to grab that kernel of truth to go someplace else. I'll give you an example I used to use in sales. This is years ago when I used to sell cars. And when I would sell cars, This is back when people used to go online, print something out, and then bring it into the dealership. Right? That's not hardly done anymore, but it used to be that way. You go online, print something out, and come and say, "Hey, I got this thing that I printed out," and they'd come to me with this printout. And I taught people this, and I did it myself. And I would say, always grab the piece of paper. And go, what? But then that's going to validate the piece of paper. Yes, they believe that paper is valid, and that's what's going to make them feel good. You grab it, you taking it. Yes, I agree. This paper is valid. I'm going to look at it, and let's go talk and walk and figure some stuff out. I would take that because now I'm saying this kernel of truth is true. I'm with you, but we're getting to a different outcome. I'm going to get a good sale out of this. You might or may not want one, but if I'm selling cars, I want you to sell a car. So I would take the paper and acknowledge it, right? And then take it to where you need to take it from. Or take it to where you want to go, I should say. Yes. So hope that was good. All right. User goes on to say, Uncle Ted made great points in his manifesto, but his campaign to get out there was bad. You know, this is actually a good example. Clearly, his tactics were horrible, and I would never think this is a good tactic to use ever. Right? I completely agree. Horrible. Just randomly hurting people for no reason. That's the definition of evil, right? Terrible. Doesn't mean everything he wrote was wrong. Doesn't mean that. And if we are to look at that and then take it and then talk about it, there'll be less people doing what he says, right? There'll be less people doing the bad stuff. I think that's absolutely true. So yes, I hope that makes sense. Yes. All right. See, grab here if I could. Andrew says, evening, Governor Sharp. My question of the week: what's your view on land value tax? We are nowhere near land value tax, Andrew. The country isn't even near it. People aren't there. I don't think it's anywhere near where it could be. And in general, if I had to have a tax, obviously I don't like taxes, but I recognize we have them and we're going to need them for at least several generations. It's just, we're nowhere near being at some type of non-tax utopia, right? That'd be awesome if we can get there. And maybe one day we can get there somehow. It's possible. I'm not against the idea of it, but I don't want to go to land value tax because I'm still taxing land. The people own more of it will pay more, but it still allows people to own more land. It also means you never own the land. If in my perfect world, if I could get there, if it would be possible, again, this is a long time to get there. It would be only the idea of somehow you pay when you use government. Now, to be very forward, that's many different ways, right? Well, you use the road, you use this, that. Yeah. And you can do it in a very simple way. Like if there's any form of fair tax, in my view, it's probably going to be a tax on transactions in some way, because the government by default does facilitate transactions by using cops and courts and laws and fairness and the ability to sue people, roads that brings the stuff there, right? Government is creating all those things. So when you're making a transaction, you should pay something for that. You're paying for it in some way. So some form of sales tax maybe is probably the fairest tax. Maybe if it's maybe limited for like I'm making numbers up, but conceptually, like any your first, I don't know, $40,000. That's the right number across the country is no tax because that's just to live. After that, anything else that you do, you pay X% tax on every time you do a transaction. That type would be that by default, the poor Americans would pay almost no tax. By default, they pay very little. And the wealthy would pay more because they do more transactions. And I don't just say sales, transactions, because many of the wealthy people, they spend a lot of time doing transactions, even money transactions of that sort, even if they're not buying things. So I think a transaction tax, if anything, is going to be the fairest of taxes. If we're going to have one, the wealthy will pay more on it. If you put a floor on it, then you put a floor on it, then the poor people will pay far less. And then you can actually own your home. You could own your house, right? With land value tax, you can't really own your home. You're always paying some form of tax in some way. And then how do you evaluate the land, right? This also goes back to who values the land. And then, so I get it. I get why some people and libertarians like it. I get it. I'm not a huge fan. And I don't think we're anywhere near it. I don't think our heads are there. That's just my view. You asked my opinion. That's my view. So yes. Yeah. Joel says the shadow banning has been effective. I didn't know you were in the capital region until the next day. All the time. That's the norm, which is why I send out emails. And yet my last trip, I put it on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, did a YouTube reel, sent an email out. Still, people struggle to get it. I have 90,000 followers on Facebook, and my videos get several hundred views all the time. Still, and I spoke about this yesterday in my anger yesterday, that I began to be shadow banned when I was talking about how horrible the lockdowns were going to be before we did the lockdowns. I warned of the horror of the lockdowns and have the receipts that I was correct in everything I said. And while I was warning people, please don't lock down. If you remember me, I wasn't anti-vax. I wasn't I was just anti-lockdown, anti-mandate, anti-force. That's all I was. Just anti-force. It's like, please give us information. Let us choose. Show us the way. I don't mind any of that. But please don't force us. It's going to create more harm than good. And I explained the problems. Everything I said was true, documented completely. And that is what they banned me for, to ensure no one could hear what I was telling them all. So yeah, I've got some issues. I do have some issues. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. So, all right. Shelly says, I still can't stomach Uncle Ted. Yes. Agreed. I'm not saying you should stomach him. All I'm saying is it doesn't mean everything he said was wrong. Right? And he's gone. And he should be gone. Right? He should be gone. I'm not sorry that he's gone. Right? I'm not. It doesn't mean that he was wrong. If that's all I'm saying. So yes, I'm just saying this means he's wrong. So yes. All right. Let's see here. Joe says, Larry, you ever reach out to local LP affiliates in your event dates? I do, but the NYLP is not my friend right now. They don't like me very much. The NYLP has decided, the LPNY, so LPNY has decided that it does not want to gain ballot access next year, and that they believe that is a waste of time and money and energy. We should not do it. I believe we absolutely should. It is critically important. It is everything, and I'm fighting for it. So we are at odds, and they are mad at me. So they will deal with whatever they want to deal with. I mentioned that on one of my lives. So yes, that's how that's working. By the way, speaking of that, if you guys do want to support my ballot access, you can. LarrySharpe.com/ballot-access. The link is right there. If you want to check it out, please do so. What I want you to do, you don't have to, not required. I'm still going to say this stuff and be out here if you don't. But I would like you to do $24 a month for 2024 until November of next year. So 1 year. I'd like you to do 1 year of $24 a month for 1 year. That's what I would like. So for those of you who want to support me, please head over there now. LarrySharpe.com/ballot-access. $24 a month for 1 year. Why? Because I'm still doing this every single month. I'm still out there running around doing crazy stuff. So please do that if you care about ballot access. If you don't care about ballot access, no worries. You can go to patreon.com/sharpeway and support this cool show. $10 a month goes a long way to keep me doing this and not doing other stuff. I spend more time on here, less time working, which means I can do more shows, which is the point that I'm trying to achieve, of course. And of course, if you want to help me out directly, you can. You can super chat me on Larry Sharpe YouTube. You can do the easy thing, which is cheap, which is retweet this on Twitter or click the like button wherever you are. That's nothing. That's free. That's an easy day. You can do that. Simple. Absolutely simple. So, yes. All righty. Let's see. Shelly says, you were the guy wearing a mask around cruise without an issue until it was mandatory. Yes. Right? Like, I got upset when they forced it, but there were some stores that wanted me to wear a mask when they came in. So I used to keep a mask in my pocket. Right? That's what you should do. I used to put a mask in my pocket when I'd walk around during that time. And some stores didn't care, and some stores did. If I go into a store facility, I put a mask on because they asked me to. There was no rules. Oh, you're scared, you're worried. Put a mask on. I'm not mad. Put a mask on, do my shopping, come out, to mask off, walk around, whatever. 100%. I still did it afterwards, but I was upset when it was the law. People were already doing it on their own. People weren't fighting. You didn't see battles in the streets. People were showing respect. They were fine. Some people cared. Some people didn't. Fine. We would have found out what was going to happen. And I think it was the right answer. I really do think it would have been the right answer going that way. So yes, thank you for that, Shelly. Yes, exactly. So Joe says, wait, what? A Libertarian State affiliate isn't interested in literally fulfilling its unique designation of a political party to run candidates for their affiliation? Yes. Yes, that's true. Yes. Dave says either 2 plus 2 is whatever the demo publicans in Washington say it is, or if you say 2 plus 2 equals 4, you are a racist that hates black and brown people, according to the left. Well, this is it's just funny. There absolutely is a what I would say is a backlash from people making everything about oppressor versus oppressed. To be clear, there are absolutely times when that is absolutely valid, right? There are times when that's valid, but we have gone out of our way. In fact, I did a thing because I know right now Roy and Joe are going back about the Israeli conflict right now, and I brought up something that people on Dan Abrams' show. I'll probably put a clip out later on. I think I might have already put it out on YouTube already, but I brought the clip up. I brought up during one of those clips, and I said, what people aren't getting is why are so many people still so anti-Israel in this, even though Israel was attacked? Why are so many people so anti-Israel? And I said, one of the reasons is that many people in America, our mindset now looks at every single issue in the world. Doesn't matter what the issue is, whether it's I got a flat tire or a country was invaded. Our mindset has been, oh, no. This is always about who is big versus who is small, who is strong versus who is not strong. And whoever is big or strong is by default the oppressor and by default wrong. So the same people who would have been 100% behind Israel when there were 4 Arab nations attacking it are now 100% against Israel because now Israel's attacking Gaza. It doesn't matter the history. They don't care about the history at all. It means nothing to them. It is just who in their minds is bigger and who in their minds is smaller, and the big guy's wrong, period. Israel is bigger than Gaza, Israel wrong. And that may seem to some people silly or wrong or nuts, but I am telling you, there's a chunk of America that now looks at everything through that lens primarily. Like that's the number one lens. Everything else is secondary. History, secondary. Actual damage, secondary. Tertiary even. The number one thing is, how can I decide someone who is the big guy theoretically, right? And it's always relative to the other one, right? Israel isn't a huge country compared to Gaza, it is, right? So that's my point. These same people who you go back to 73 or 67, where now I got 4 massive Arab countries attacking Israel, would have been 100% on Israel's side. Now they, oh no, it's changed. So now Israel's bad. It's immediate, and it's a mindset that many Americans have, particularly youngsters, right? Particularly youngsters, they have that mindset that that's what everything is. So yes. Andrew says, no matter what religion, no matter their faults, murder is universal sin. Agreed. 100%. Yes. Roy says, 100% Larry, the ivory tower intelligentsia would be jailed and tortured in the very regimes they defend against Israel. True. Which is a democracy with racial/gender freedom unknown throughout the Middle East. Accurate statement. But again, in their view, secondary. Right? That's secondary. But yeah, I think you find a lot of people, particularly youngsters, who feel that way. Yes, that's why your Ukraine is different in their minds from Israel. Thank you for that. Yes, that's why, because Ukraine's little, Russia's big. So it doesn't matter. History, irrelevant, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. What matters is little guy, big guy. Big guy is bad no matter what. Little guy is good no matter what. I think you see a lot of that now, which I don't think you saw a lot. I don't think you saw the same thing 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, from a small group of people, yes. But most of the huge chunk of youngsters did not think that way years ago. I know I was one of them. When I was 18, I didn't think that way at all. I didn't think that way at all when I was. So, yes. Gene says, if liar's pants actually caught on fire, Congress would burn down. Maybe that's our new rule, Gene. Maybe that's our new rule, right? I like that. If you lie, we set your pants on fire. And that's it. Well, they've actually said this legally. It's okay for them to lie because First Amendment. I'm not joking. Like courts actually said that. They actually said that. They were like, no. They can lie. It's First Amendment. I Guess. Shelley says, my family left Prussia in 1911. 2 World War later, we were supporting Ukraine on the verge of a third World War. Look at that. Well, what now is what was Prussia, Shelley, right now is actually Poland right now, right? Is actually Poland. The East Germans or Prussian Germans basically don't exist anymore. I mean, they were basically wiped out. World War II basically wiped out any semblance of Prussia, Prussian, East German. There's hardly any of it. It doesn't even exist. I mean, the culture doesn't really exist. The people don't really exist. For those of you who don't know, in East Germany, when the Russians came in, they were horrible to the German civilians. Don't get me wrong. The Germans were horrible to Russian civilians. So it wasn't like this wasn't. I'm not advocating what they did. I'm just saying clearly the Germans did some stuff, right? When the Russians came, they were terrible. When it came to the French, the British, and the Americans, nowhere near as bad to the German people. I mean, they weren't great either, but they were nowhere near as bad. The Russians literally, they believe they were probably, and I don't know if this is how they document this, but they believe there was about 2 million Germans raped by Russian soldiers. Imagine how much that is. Imagine that. You literally you bred out Prussians forcibly. And it sounds horrible. I know, but I'm just telling you that's true. You can look it up. That's true. That is how bad they just wrecked the whole eastern part of Germany, all of Prussia, all of that area. It was completely trashed, just gone. Right. So I don't know if your family's, I would assume that your family now, Shelley, actually comes from what is now Poland, because the Russians that made that Poland to make sure there would never be Prussia, East Germany, East Germans ever really again. There really aren't any anymore. I mean, I guess there's some, but not what they used to be. So, in any case, I appreciate that. My German family, you see my German flag here, actually comes from Western Germany, the Frankfurt, Bad Homburg area. So we were Western German, not Eastern German. And my mom actually was raised in what was called at the time West Germany. It was actually called West Germany. Now, of course, it is Germany. So thank you for that. And I knew that by your name, Schultz. So that was good too. Yes. Isn't that the name of the current prime minister? I'm sorry, the current chancellor? I'm not even sure. Maybe, not even sure. So Edward asked the question, why not conquer, if you will, New York City, then fix New York State? Well, I'm taking that into consideration. I am. My goal here, so you guys know my goal if I can do it. My goal is to gain ballot access in New York State next year, right? And when I gain ballot access in New York State next year, I will do that through whoever is the presidential candidate that we have, right? That's how New York State works. New York State law is so broken that we have to run a presidential candidate to gain ballot access, even if you're even if you are a local, even if you are a local party, doesn't matter. That's how broken our group it is, and everyone says that. Yes. So, any case, when it comes to that, if I'm able to do that, I then am able to run for mayor of New York City in 2025. Now, the reality is, why not, conquer New York City? Because New York City is 6-1 Democrat to Republican. The odds of me actually winning New York City mayor, slim to none. However, I'll run. I could win. It's possible, I guess. But whether or not I win or not, there's two cool things here, Edward. And that is, New York City has a good law. What? Larry Sharp says New York City has a good law. It does. And that law is, if you take matching funds, you must debate or you have to give the money back. Well, everybody wants that money. So if these people take the money, which they will, so would I, by the way. I would also, even though some of them try to be mad at me, don't care. I'll take it anyway. Because New York City is 8-1 matching funds. So if you raise $250,000, then I get $2 million. I will take that money and campaign in New York City. So what happens? Either I win, which would be awesome, but I don't think I will, to be forward with you. But I do gain a foothold in New York City that I didn't have for governor last time. So now with the foothold in New York City and some money in my campaign, I can then run for governor in 2026 and have a foothold in New York City. I already have a foothold out in Western New York. So now all of a sudden, it all grows. It increases my odds of victory. So yes, I was thinking about that. Absolutely. I was thinking about that. I don't know if I can do it in that way, if that makes any sense. So yes. So he says, that is the name of the current chancellor. I thought it was. Yes. We are having nightly headline spoofs among family members. That's what I figured. And I'm just curious, Shelley, do you still have any family in Europe, or are they all over here? I still actually have some family in the Frankfurt area. I do still have some. A cousin? Her name is Astrid. I haven't seen her literally in like 50 years. It's been forever. So yes, but yes, it's been a long time. But yes, and a nephew. So I do have two. I do have some family still in Germany. Most of my family though actually is in Florida now. But I do have some in Germany. I do have a little bit left. So yes. So all right. Yeah. In any case, Jingo's going to say, if you already have ballot access, then you would suit off the ballot. Yes, I did. And for those who don't know, they didn't care at all about us having ballot access. The judges didn't care. The Board of Elections didn't care. Nobody cared. They just wanted to punish. They just wanted to throw me off the ballot. They did not care at all. And it was embarrassingly bad how they dealt with it. It showed me that these judges care only about the state and not about the individual rights. I felt like, what's what I'm looking for? I felt like the prosecutor to judge pipeline is one of the biggest problems we have in New York State. Prosecutors support the state. I mean, it's sad they go, the people, they're not the people, they support the state, which is fine. It's their job. I get it. But if most of your judges are coming from that, then the judges are now coming from people who support the state, not from people who support the people. So yes, I am worried about that. And I think of all the things I learned, that was the most disappointing. I didn't want to believe that judges were that stuck in the political process, were that stuck in supporting the system. I didn't want to believe that it was true. And it is, right? It was hard for me to accept. I didn't want to believe, but now I know it's true. It's a harsh lesson, right? It's almost like learning Santa Claus isn't real, right? You just don't want to believe it. And it's the reason though why so many of our laws and bad laws only get knocked down at the Supreme Court, because New York State will just support anything. It doesn't matter what it is. They'll just support anything. So yes. All right. Shelley says, Board of Elections guy clutching that briefcase like it depended, his life depending on it. Yes, still sticks in my mind. And of course, judges making decisions without the contents of said briefcase. Yes, they admitted, by the way, you guys don't know this if you weren't there, but they admitted they never read the briefs. They never read the briefs. They literally didn't read what I wrote and made a judgment without reading it. That's what they did and admitted it, and nobody cared. You didn't bother reading your stuff, Larry. It's a no. What? What? Yes, it's a no. That was what they did. It drives me crazy, but it's absolutely true. So I appreciate that. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Let me go down to this piece here. Anthony says, it should be illegal for judges to be aligned to political parties. Their sole duty should be to interpret laws and rule based on the law. Yes, Anthony, I'm glad you brought that up. You guys give me PTSD now. But when I was there, I literally told these judges, I said, I can't go to the legislature to change this because they're the ones who made the law. When I got on the ballot, they're the ones who threw me off. The Democrats, Republicans, they're the ones in the Congress and in the Assembly. I can't go to them. I can't go to the governor. I'm his competition. This is to become governor. So I cannot go to the executive branch. I cannot go to the legislative branch. I can only go to your branch. There's no other option for me. And I can't go there and change things because I have to get on the ballot so I can do that. So you are my only option. And they went, well, we don't know if we have jurisdiction. We don't know if we have any standing. We don't know if we can do it. What? You have all the things. You're the only one there. Your job is not to just accept the law, right? Is not to just accept the law. Your job is to interpret it and decide if it's even constitutional. And they don't. And some of you who aren't aware, lawyers, you all know this, but the average person doesn't always know this. The average person thinks that, well, when in the assembly, they're worried about what's a constitutional law or not. So they make laws based upon the Constitution. That's not true. They just make laws. Someone has to challenge the law, right? That's what lawyers get paid to do. That's what judges have to deal with, right? That's their job, right? The challenge, they go, no, this law's unconstitutional. They challenge it. And then now people now have to do something about it, right? That's most who don't think. They think, well, no, it's unconstitutional, so they would never pass it. They don't care. They openly say it. If you ask them, no, if it's bad, the courts will fix it. They literally pass unconstitutional laws, knowing they're unconstitutional, assuming no one will challenge them. And they're usually right. But now we need lawyers to attack these laws and go, no, it's unconstitutional. Now, what's supposed to happen, though, is when a judge sees a law and goes, oh, this law is clearly unconstitutional, he's supposed to do something about it. They don't. They only do something about it if someone challenges it. So if no one challenges the law, they don't do anything. So let me ask you, if all of a sudden it was a law, and I ask this question all the time. This is one of my most famous ones I bring up, or most popular one. I got it actually from Gary Johnson, believe it or not. I said, if New York State, you're in New York State in this case, you're in New York State Assembly passes a law that says that if a 16 or 17-year-old is convicted of graffiti, the penalty is mandatory death. Now, I know we don't have a death sentence in New York State, but for the sake of argument, we do. For the sake of this argument, we do. So the penalty is death, mandatory minimum, death. That is the law. So now you are a judge, and you're a judge, and you're in a criminal case, and this kid who's 17 years old gets convicted of graffiti. The law is you must sentence him to death. Do you do it? If you do, you are a horrible human being. Done. If you do, you are a horrible human being. The excuse, just following orders, well, we discussed who did that many years ago, right? That's not an excuse. And you're a judge. So you have the right to go, this is completely unconstitutional. This is cruel, unusual punishment. You don't murder people because they commit graffiti. That is completely unconstitutional. We're not doing it. Sadly, there are judges in this state right now who would do it. They would sentence him to death because the law said so. Well, my hands are tied. You're a judge. Your hands are never tied. Let me say that one more time. You're a judge. Your hands are never tied. What's the worst that happens? You go, this is stupid. I'm not doing it. Give him a year or whatever is the appropriate. I don't know what appropriate punishment is for graffiti, but whatever it is, sake of argument, it's a year in jail. What are you going to do? Remove your judgeship? That's not a thing. They're going to maybe roast you in the press for not sentencing a 7-year-old to death. Is that going to happen? Stop. That's not going to happen. Right? You would say something, you would do something. What's the difference in this case? In this case, this is going to be a little off topic, but I think you guys get it. They're trying to throw Trump off the ballot across the country, right? Colorado now and a couple other states trying to throw him off the ballot. Is it South Carolina? A couple states are trying to throw him off the ballot. They're saying because the 14th Amendment, that he is an insurrectionist and therefore he's ineligible to be on the ballot in a state. You have to now not let him be in a ballot in a state. Now, do I care about Donald Trump? I don't. To be very, you guys know I don't care about Donald Trump at all. Doesn't matter to me. Personally, I hope he wins. Why? Why would I personally hope he wins? Because the argument that his people are using helps me. So you might go, oh, you're a Trump supporter? If that's what it takes, then yes, because it helps me. Because their argument is you can't throw him off because it hurts democracy. Obviously, people want to vote for him. He was already president. He's winning in the polls. People want to vote for him, right? Obviously. So you can't, if you do this, you are literally, you're hurting democracy. That's their argument. If they win this argument, that was my argument. I said there are 500,000 people in New York State who vote independent every single 2 years, every cycle of 2 years. And when you have no independent on the ballot, you are now disenfranchising them. You're taking away the democracy. You're doing it. And guess how many people, less people voted in 2022 compared to 2020? 500,000. And I said, if you're getting rid of me, there's 100,000 people who voted for me. So assuming any of them are still here, then they want to vote for me. And they said, we don't care. Done. Gone. Nothing. Go to hell, Larry Sharpe. Even though I was correct. Didn't matter. So if Trump gets on the ballot, maybe I got a shot one more time. We'll see. Maybe it would. So yes, Joe's is breaking. Larry Sharpe will show up on the ballot in New York. Well, kind of, yeah. To be selfish, Joe, it does help me. It does. I'm as always, I'm trying to be honest, right? To selfishly, yes, it helps my case. It helps my case. But if he loses and he gets thrown off the ballot, then it kind of reinforced what he did here. So yeah, you're right, Joe. Doesn't mean I want him to win. Doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that. Does not mean that. But it does mean I do want him on ballot. Shelly says I voted for you. Thank you, Shelly. A lot of people voted for you. I don't know how many, because unless it goes past 2%, they have no need to count. So I'm only guessing how many votes I got by how many registered libertarians there were and what happened last time. I am guessing that we got about 20,000 votes, but I have no data on that. So take that for whatever value you went into that. It's a guess. I'm guessing we got about 20,000 votes, write-ins. And again, I have no data. You can believe whatever you want. I didn't win and I didn't get 2%. That I'm sure of. I didn't win. I didn't get 2%. So it doesn't really matter what happened. But my guess is, and again, that's all it is a guess. So Joel says, New York Citizens Audit is attempting to have their day in court to get audits of the election process. I'm afraid New judges will not listen. We're not careful of the laws. Yes, I like, and let me be very clear why I like what New York Citizens Audit is doing. It's not because I wanted to fight the election system. I mean, that's always a good thing, but that's not why. I like what they're doing because I don't know if you know the details behind it. It's a volunteer organization that's going in and caring. If we had more of that, our state would be better. Now, some people would do nutty things because people do nutty things. But if we had more people doing this kind of thing, even though one in a while some would be nutty, it's how it works. Fine, whatever. But more of this is good for us. It's good for our culture. It's good for our community, right? It's good for all of those things, right? It's nothing but good. I'm very glad they're doing it. I really hope that this gets something done, whatever that is. I'm not really sure what they really want at the end, but any impact is going to be valuable. So I am very happy about what they're doing. I support them. I've been to their events before. I support what they're doing. And I wish more, not just New Yorkers, Americans, but particularly in this case, New Yorkers would do things like this. Get together, volunteer. We want some change. Let's do some change. I love the idea of what they're doing. I really do. Guys, I want to ask one more time if you can, click that like button. You're watching, you haven't clicked like. I don't know why you haven't. You're watching, you care. Also, if you're watching on Twitter, retweet this right now. Every retweet does matter. Every time you retweet it, it does matter. Please do so. If you're watching on YouTube and you want your chat to go to the front, you can always super chat me if you like. We're talking about me getting ballot access. You want to help out? You can. LarrySharpe.com/ballot-access. And I know you asking, Joe, why isn't this going through the LPNY? They do not have a ballot access fund. They do not want to do ballot access. I'm doing it. This is me doing ballot access. I'm the one doing it in New York State. If you want ballot access in New York State, you have to donate to me. Donate to them. We'll go wherever they want to go to. It will not be ballot access. Mine will be ballot access. If that's what you care about, that's where you donate. I would like you to do $24 a month for 2024 until November. 1 year, $24 a month is what I'd like you to do. If you can do it, please do so. If you can't, there's still two ways you can help. Number one, you can just show up. Show up in April, 6 weeks of petitions, get me some signatures. That's the way of doing it too. I'm happy if you can do that also. Show up. That does matter. I will let you know the exact date, where we're going to be. Show up. It does matter. That will be awesome. If you can't do that, there's a simpler way. Click the like button and share the stuff here so other people can see it. It does matter. Every little bit is important. So yes, that is the point. So yes. Okay. Joe says, I don't believe LPMO doesn't want ballot access. You know what? Maybe I'm incorrect in that use of that word. Maybe I'm using the wrong word here. Let me try to use the right word. And I explained it earlier, so maybe I shouldn't have done that thing. I'll explain it that way. They don't believe it's doable, and they believe it's a waste of time and money this year. So maybe that's a better explanation. I see that as they don't want it. That's how I see it. That's my opinion of it. How about that, Joe? That's my opinion of it. That isn't what they said. What they're saying is it's not worth it. We can't do it. Waste of money. That, right? That's it. I'm saying they don't want it. Because if you want something, you go for it. That's me. So I guess there is your issue. So I hope at least that makes sense, what I'm saying. So yes. I think anyone should be able to run, party or not, do with boot on his head or nicely dressed liar. See, some of you don't know this. Printing ballots is a relatively new thing. Printing ballots isn't in the Constitution. It's not in a state constitution. It's not in the American Constitution. You're supposed to be able to vote for whoever you want. That's it. You vote for whoever you want. That's what you're supposed to do. So you used to come in with your own paper, or parties would produce their own sheets with the people's names, and you check the boxes, put in the ballot box. That's how it used to be. You write your own name. I want Joe to be president, whatever. I put it in. Done. That's how it worked. Now they decided we're going to control the system by putting on the ballot versus not being on the ballot. Where'd that come from? That comes from political parties. Political parties aren't in the Constitution. They're not in the Constitution. In fact, our founders said, don't do political parties. It's going to hurt people. It's a terrible idea. They were right. We don't ever listen to them. They were right. Right? This goes back to our first piece. We can't listen to them. They were slave owners. Therefore, everything they said was wrong. No, they were slave owners. That's true. Well, not all of them. Some of them were slave owners. Yes. Doesn't mean everything they said was wrong. So, yes. So, anyway. All right, let me grab a couple of these here if I can. Edward says the controls corrupt. 100%. 100%. That is the corruption itself. Yes, absolutely. Joe says, remove private organizations from government documents, ballots, and voter registration. I agree. Why do you have to have any of that on the ballot? I agree. Why is Republican, Democrat on the ballot? Why is it? Completely agree. Put the person on it. That's it. Person name. That's all. Now, if political parties want to exist so they can tell their people who voluntarily join who to vote for, no worries. I don't have a problem with that. Right? Political parties, if you're part of Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Greens, whoever you're part of, if they send you an email, hey, here are our candidates, vote for them, totally fine. It's a private organization deciding to do what they think is appropriate for their political means and ends. No worries. They can tell people who to vote for, send emails, even if people, whatever, the 100 feet out, whatever the time is, saying, hey, we're Democrats, these are the guys, we're Republicans, these are the guys, blah, blah, whatever. Totally fine. But yes, why do they have to be on the ballot? I completely agree. Yes, that is a good idea. I wish we had more political parties, more options, more choices. Sadly, we don't, and it's not getting better. And people have wondered why I have supported other third parties recently and even a couple years back. Why was I so positive on Forward Party? Why was I so positive on the Greens? What I helped the Greens? How about they sue the state with us? Why have I said I'm glad RFK Jr. is running? Why am I glad that Cornel West is running? Right? Why am I happy about these things? Because I don't think we can do it alone. I think we need more and more people to be involved in trying to push this third party. I want a third party in America. I think third party in America is the only way to make actual change. Because what we're doing now in almost everything we do is just say, hey, what does my left Democrat head say, talking head say, and what's my right my right leaning talking head say? Okay, that's how I think now. Now, that isn't everyone in America, but that's still at least 35% of Americans, at least, if not more, who just do that. And they're really loud. And they make everybody think, oh, I guess I lean left, so I gotta think this way. Oh, I lean right, so I gotta think that way. Well, most Americans actually have left and right leaning theories depending upon the situation. Most Americans aren't all left or all right. Some are, 100%, some are, but most aren't. Some are like, oh yeah, I'm left on all these things. I'm kind of right on this one. I'm right on all these things. A little left on this one. Some people, most people are that way. You can't do that. Multiple parties allows you to do that, right? The third part, and I'll give you the other part. And Ed says, third parties would be great, 5 parties would be better. Yes, but my point is, and I bring this up often, someone's got to break a hole so we can all run through. I wanted it to be me, and I hope one day it will be me. But if it's Cornel West, if it's RFK Jr., if it's Andrew Yang's Forward Party, good. Look, those aren't my parties. Those aren't my people. But if they get ahead and they make impact, now libertarians get mad at me for this. Like, oh no, it's got to be libertarian. I don't care who it is. If Cornel West actually makes impact, if RFK Jr. actually makes impact, if Forward Party actually makes impact, if they do, we will benefit from that. Libertarians will benefit from that. So I obviously I'm biased. I want libertarians to be the ones who make the impact. I do, of course I do. But I will take RFK, Cornel West. I will take any of them, right? I will take any of them. Someone's got to break a hole in this system. Someone's got to get a foothold on the system as a third party. And then to your point, Ed, we can have a third, a fourth, a fifth party, right? Once one's in, the rest can come in too, right? They will. And they will want us if we are good to them, which I am, because they're going to need allies. See, they know what I know. And this is exactly what Shelley was talking about, what Gene was talking about. When I got ballot access, they saw something else that happened. For those who were paying attention, right? In 2019, after I got ballot access in 2018, we had 107 victories, libertarian victories in New York State. They were all local things. But that was a foothold. Whoa, 107. These guys are becoming real players. Huh. Okay, can't have that. Change it all. That's when we got thrown off. If they thought we were going to be a flash in the pan and then destroyed, they wouldn't have cared. But no, we actually made impact. They had to stop that. They had to end that. They had to end that. And they did. So my point is, we didn't have any allies because as Libertarian Party at that point, we alienated everybody. We alienated everybody, threw people out of the party. We were terrible as a party in New York State. We were just bad. We threw people out, purified the party, nothing but bad. No allies, terrible. Lesson learned. They will want allies. We will want allies. We need more people in that bridgehead. That's how we stop these two parties. So that is why I've more than once been okay with other parties getting on the ballot, other parties moving forward. I don't care. I don't care. Anyone breaks a hole, we're going through. I hope it's me. I hope it's us. If it's not, I'm fine with it. Whoever it is, it is. No worries. So guys, I want to thank you so much for this evening. I'm glad you were able to give me a little bit of your evening, a nice little AMA, a chat. I know I haven't done many shows. I'm trying to do more. As you can see, I've been very busy, but just last night I did a show. Today, a show. I'll see if I can do another one coming up here soon. Probably Monday night too. I will see you all very soon.